mission has always been to protect all our residents, not to create insurmountable obstacles. But every change that we felt was necessary was met with resistance from everyone. We take a step ahead, and they push us back 3. We wanted more distance from the residences. We wanted 2,000 feet to start with, which in kind would have helped with the noise issue, which we probably wouldn't even have touched that then. We wanted the 42 dBA at night. We didn't say all day, we just said night, which EverPower stated that they could work with it. And then, nope, that's no good. Or the project's in jeopardy. We were told these changes would create a new industry standard, and that would make them look bad. So nope, can't have that. Or we can't change, or we can't move any turbines because the plans are final and the models can't be changed, or we will walk. We were also told this was not said to cause problems or as a scare tactic. But then again, we have been told a lot of things that aren't true. So from this, I can only conclude, this is my personal opinion, I can only conclude, that unlike their claims as being a cooperative, community-friendly company, they are indeed the opposite, and care more about their status in the wind industry and their bottom line than the welfare of our townspeople that must live with this project after they're long gone. Now, I fully realize there is a lot of money involved in this project for our town, our participating residents, as well as Whalen, Cohocton, Dansville, Steuben County. But I do not feel that we should put money before the health and safety of our residents. I think we should go forward with voting on the resolutions that we passed last month. We looked them all over, we passed them. And if we get a majority vote +1, the county requires to override their decision, then the state siting board can decide whether they will allow EverPower's request. Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, to me, it's the 45 versus the 42, and the first amendments that came through 2 years ago was changing it to 50 and 50 dB, and we did that. And now we're asking for 45 during the day, 42 at night. But wind power has come down to 45. And if you think about that, I try to keep things simple. And it's a simple answer for me. Is that they came down 5 points, what it was. If we go up 3 points, we're still 2 ahead. That's the way I look at it.
Councilman Kiefer?
I don't know where to start. I look around this room and I see friends and neighbors and people that I've known for a long time. Some not as much as others, but for the majority. We went to your homes, we went to bat for the public when we asked for votes to sit here on this board. And in doing so, trying to make a better solution for everything, somewhere down the middle of the road. It's not always possible. Paperwork, time spent, we got enough paperwork, you can wallpaper the room here. What good has it really done us? That's the feeling that I have. We've talked with the windmill people, trying to come to a sensible solution for everyone involved. Not me, not them, but everybody. That's what we thought our job was supposed to be for. I served the the town for a long time. And through that time that I served, it was to help people have something that they may not have been able to have had otherwise. Sometimes it wasn't always favorable. Sometimes they got turned down on permits or whatever. But this whole thing was, we worked with the people. And that's what we need to do now. There's gonna be some upset. There's gonna be some jump up and down and have a party. We've gotta move forward. We can't keep passing this on much longer. I know you all have your views, and I understand that, as well as all the people sitting up here that you asked to do this job. That's all I have.
So, Everpower has drafted 2 changes that they would like us to review. And there are copies in the back. Basically, it would be the noise, and it would be going with what the county asked us to do too. And I'll read it. The sound pressure level generated by the WECS shall not exceed 50 dBA LEQ 8-hour average measured at all off-site property lines. The sound pressure shall not exceed 45 dBA LEQ 1-hour average at the exterior walls of any residence. The annual nighttime average for non-participating residents will be 40 dBA LEQ. The developer will install the lowest noise technology available for the selected turbine, for example, serrated trailing edge blades. Independent certification shall be provided before and after construction demonstrating compliance with this requirement. So basically this amendment will replace the amendment we've been discussing that has the 42 dBA.
Well, I don't know what we're gonna do about it at this meeting. I would say we ought to look this thing over, and I would make a motion that we wait till the July meeting to vote on it. Table it till the July meeting.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Whitman,
Aye.
Kiefer,
Aye.
Belt,
Aye.
Smith, Murray.
Nay.
3 ayes, 2 nays, 0 abstains.
Do you want to discuss the complaint resolution or just table anything?
You should seal the whole thing.
We'll discuss it in July. Okay, next up is town's liability and property insurance, and we have Andy Sprague.
understanding we've got a full agenda, obviously prior to this and posters, so let's turn to the second page, please, and we can go over the coverages, ask any questions that you'd like. The top one is municipal property with building and coverage and contents coverage. Its total insured value at 90%. Includes all the buildings, all the contents, everything within and without the four walls. That figure of 2 million plus comes from the CBIZ reports, a third-party report as members of the NYMER organization. It's a free service to you to come out and look at every piece of property, and we'll go over the scheduled property in a minute, to establish a value on both the building and the contents. So it's a third-party independent review. They do it every 3 or 4 years for members. Keeps everybody kind of on the same page. And there's a built-in inflation guard of 4% on both the buildings and the contents on the policy. So this figure was increased 4% over last year's figure on the renewal. Your loss of income, actual loss sustained in the event that you have to move to another building, if this one burns up, whatever it costs to get you back in business, there's no set limit and there's no time limit on it. Extra expense is the component that you have to rent or possibly purchase another building while this is getting rebuilt. You have $250,000 there, ordinance and law in addition. In the event that you have to upgrade this to code, this being an older building, there's probably some code compliant pieces that would have to be done. Valuable papers and accounts receivable to rebuild those accounts to be able to collect them. And your earthquake and flood coverage is $1 million apiece with a $25,000 deductible. The next one, municipal boiler and machinery. This is coverage in the event that there's a mechanical component of the building, the boiler blows up and the building disappears. So you see that 2 million plus figure there. It's exactly the same figure for both the contents and the built property coverage. This also includes your other properties. Again, we'll go through the schedule to see how we arrive at 2 million plus with a $1,000 deductible. You'll notice under this municipal boiler and machinery, there's some significant values here. Loss of income, extra expense, $5 million. Expediting expense in the event you have to get something here quickly, overnighted. That's included in that. There's $2.5 million for hazardous ordinance and law, $10 million. Clearly, the difference between the two are two things. First of all, if the boiler blows up, typically you do have a major, if not a total loss. And they up these coverages having more to do with larger municipalities. So while clearly there might not be $10 million in law and ordinance that you would have to do to get up to speed as part of the policy. So it's there. You certainly have the coverage above and beyond what you would have now. And municipal general liability is down below that. Your $1 million per occurrence, $3 million aggregate limit. Products, completed operations, more on the highway side, where the guys out dealing with the roads and so forth is $1 million, $1 million. Fire damage, legal liability in the event that the town rented a space or rented a space from another third party. They were found liable for a fire up to 50 under the damage legal liability, and then it would go into your general liability for anything above that. The net expense per person, I do want to talk about that. It's an overlooked component on the liability side. Somebody comes up the front step, slips and falls, cracks their hip, just get them to the hospital. This is where this is covered. And it's literally to forestall any legal action. And that's really what it comes down to. So you've got 5,000 per occurrence, and the aggregate limit is 10. So you'd have up to 5,000 for 2 incidents in the policy period 1 year. Employee benefits liability was $1 million, which is more centered about what you folks do here, and you've got limited pollution liability. Anybody have any questions or thoughts or comments at this point?
How much is the flood and earthquake line item?
For cost-wise?
Yes.
Oh, it depends. A lot has to do with your location. You know, if you're in a flood zone, it's going to be different than you aren't. Typically, it's about $350 to $400.
Okay.
Was the 4% going to be on the total bill? You're just talking that part you was quoting right then.
The inflation guard, is that what you're talking?
Well, you mentioned the word 4%. What did that apply to?
So that applies to every year, the value of the buildings and the contents are increased 4%. And that's the inflation.
I know where you're going, because I got my house that way.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a fairly common component of property coverage. Next one, your municipal crime coverage. We have, over the past couple of years, we've changed this. We used to schedule positions. The clerk might be 25,000, the tax collector might be 75, depending on the conditions of the local municipality. We've gone to a blanket coverage. What we have found in the past, typically 500 here, 50 there, over the course of a few years, if you schedule a position of 20, I use the village of Riverside, which we insured. Her clerk was insured up to 25, and she ended up taking 80. So the village was on the hook for that delta, which is obviously significant. That's a lot of money. So what we've done is actually use a blanket amount. And $350,000 per loss coverage, and that includes all employees, all right? And outside the premises, you have 300 in the event that somebody, a messenger breaks, or somebody is transporting town money and they steal it or it disappears. That's where that coverage would actually perform. And also the computer fraud is 300,000. So we've upped this to a higher limit, but it provides a broader coverage umbrella for the crime portion of the policy. And it's really worked out over the past few years. And you notice that we have excess positions. Sometimes they will schedule a position tax collector if they're handling $500,000 in the course of the first of the year. But in this case, that's not applicable. On your municipal automobile policy, you have a combined bodily injury, property damage liability at $1 million. Your PIP, personal injury protection, or no fault at $150, and the OBEL, optional benefit economic loss, goes over the personal PIP protection. Personal PIP is for medical injury. The OBEL could be applied to anything. It could be applied to lost income. It could be applied to it's a broader line of coverage for it. On your supplementary uninsured, you got $1 million for those that are underinsured or uninsured motorists in the event that they hit one of your folks and there's not enough to cover any kind of medical property damage. Non-ownership in the event that somebody's using their own car on behalf of the town, get into a mess, found liable, you have $1 million, and same with a higher liability, auto liability, sorry. And the deductible reimbursement down the bottom line for officers and directors, in the event that one of you folks is out performing on behalf of the town, you're an employee, you get into a mess because you're there, and if you found you have your deductible, personal automobile deductible is reimbursable up to $1,000. Your own personal automobile would have to perform, but you'd be reimbursed deductible up to $1,000. You're out doing business on behalf of the town. Municipal law enforcement is not applicable. The inland marine, which we'll go over in a minute here, this we receive the auto physical damage, contractor's equipment, rental lease equipment, and unscheduled equipment. We'll go over that. Your excess catastrophe liability policy, which goes over the general liability that's underlying, this goes over it completely, $2,000,004. So you have on your general, you've got $3,000,007, which is pretty healthy coverage. That's good. That's good. Your public officials, again, which falls back on you folks in the event that you're making decisions on behalf of the town, is included in the excess catastrophic liability. So you've got that same excess coverage on anything that you folks do. So those are the coverages in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions? Want to go over anything? Review anything on that? We'll get into the automobiles and the property in a minute. All good? So why don't we go to the following page, one after that, statement of values. This is where we actually list values, the building value, the location of the buildings, the building values, and the content values. Town hall here, we've got at 727, and the content's at 98.6. So again, these values are derived from that third-party CBIZ report that's done every 3